government extends national home ownership campaign. Married couples should not stay apart due to work commitments. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me on News on 2. National Home Ownership Campaign 2019, HOC 2019, will be extended for another 6 months until 31st December. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng announced yesterday that the extension of the campaign is to encourage more home ownership among Malaysians and reduce the number of unsold houses. It has also made available incentives for first home purchases, stating that houses priced up to 300,000 ringgit can apply for stamp duty exemption on Memorandum of Transfer and Loan Agreement, while houses priced between 300,000 and 500,000 ringgit can apply for the same stamp duty exemption, but limited to the first 300,000 ringgit of the house price. Lim said first home purchases made in the secondary market or from developers not registered with REDA can also apply for stamp duty exemption under the HOC incentive. He said HOC has received a positive reception from the public as the stamp duty exemption incentives and discounts of at least 10% were also able to reduce the cost of home ownership, especially for Malaysians who have never owned a house. Citing a report from the National Property Information Centre, NAPIC, Lim said there were 2,313 units of unsold homes valued at 19.86 billion ringgit as at the fourth quarter of 2018. HOC was launched in March and was initiated to increase home ownership and address the issue of unsold houses. Meanwhile, speaking on the same matter, Housing and Local Government Minister Zuraida Kamarudin says that the extension of the home ownership campaign to December will give more people the opportunity to own a home. She said with the extension, it was hoped that the housing industry would be able to clear the unsold properties and get on the right track. Elaborating further in a statement released, Zuraida said the campaign launched by Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has received encouraging response from home buyers and housing developers alike. The campaign, which was initiated by Ministry of Housing and Local Government in collaboration with several housing developer associations, was launched in January. According to the minister, the campaign has benefited new home buyers, as among others, they have been given exemptions or reduction stamp duties based on the price of the residential units. In addition, buyers enjoy a 10% discount on the price of advertising permits and original sale or selling price. Zuraida added that she was informed that buyers and developers had urged for the campaign period to be extended to December instead of the original target date on June 2019. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah says employers should play their role to address issues on married couples having to stay apart due to work commitments. She said the employers could, among others, provide flexible working hours for these employees, hence giving them more time to spend with their families.
Supaya mereka katalah kerja dekat dalam seminggu tu dipanjangkan tiap-tiap hari dan masa untuk kurang tu macam dekat pejabat kerajaan you have to wait 48 hours for 1 week kan. Kalau dikumpulkan you've done that, therefore you can take time off lah. So get more flexible hours to membalik kepada keluarga. Dan juga bagaimana dia ada Kementerian Sumber Manusia adakan kursus-kursus work-life balance, bagaimana kita nak menangani masalah ini. Yang satu apabila ada
Speaking to reporters after closing the Welfare Department's 2019 Junior Leadership Programme in Bangi, Selangor, the Deputy Premier also noted it is the government's intention to address the problem, where implementation would depend on the wisdom of employers. On another note, Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah says there is a need for a long-term plan to resolve the pollution problems in Pasir Gudang in a comprehensive manner to prevent a recurrence of such incidents. She said a long-term solution is necessary as the pollution issue had affected the health of residents in the area. Commenting further on the matter, Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Aziza said the government might have to think of ways to resettle the residents with the consent of the Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Iskandar. She said the factor of economic output by the manufacturing industry in the area should also be considered when drawing up the long-term plan.
Namun it is not easy because semua kelang-kelangan dalam persekitaran housing. So you have to think of a long-term plan, but short-term plan is that to have the detection, to remove them from that place, and long-term plan is how to penempatan semula.
Following the air pollution incidents recently, the Ministry of Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change had implemented several short-term measures, including building automatic gas monitoring stations in the area. This, however, could not provide a comprehensive solution in the long run because of the centralized location of factories and their proximity to residential areas. Deputy Women, Family and Community Development Minister Hannah Yeoh says the Persons with Disabilities OKU community can look forward to better facilities and services in the future. She added that what the OKU community really wants is to integrate themselves into the society and live their lives like everyone else.
Golongan orang kurang upaya, what they really want is to integrate. They want to integrate with the rest so that you don't have special things just for They want to be treated like everybody else and just have the opportunity to live life to its fullest like everybody else. So what we are doing now is to make sure we focus on peluang pekerjaan and accessibility.
The Deputy Minister also said that she had met with Prasarana officials last week, and among the things discussed were increasing job opportunities, sorting out work leave and trying to eliminate the problem of citizens parking their cars at OKU spots. She further noted that her ministry is hoping to integrate disabled kids from school all the way until they leave school. Hannah added that the government plans to adopt a 1% OKU employment as part of the key performance indicators for each ministry. She said the 1% OKU employment policy had been established in the past. However, enforcement has been lax, with ministries not penalized for failing to hit the target. One of the policemen involved in the recent Op Batik operation in Kuala Koh, Guamusang, Kelantan was warded for what was believed to be measles. State Police Chief Dato' Hasanuddin Hassan, however, said doctors at Guamusang Hospital confirmed that the man in his 30s had actually contracted chickenpox. Dato' Hasanuddin said the policeman started having a fever a day after the operation ended on 23rd June, and since then he has been warded at the hospital. He also said the man who acted as the photographer during the operation was improving and reported to be in stable condition. The police chief further noted that police have not received any information other men involved in the same operation facing similar illness, and hopefully none of the other men suffered anything. He said this after attending a Hari Raya open house in Kota Baru, Kelantan yesterday. Coming up, 40,000 fishermen receive cost of living aid. The Congress of Unions of Employees in the Public and Civil Services QPACS has urged the government to review the minimum wage in an effort to reduce the people's cost of living. Its president, Dato' Azim Muda, said the current rate is seen to be inadequate for the lower income B40 group.
Minimum untuk pekerja dalam sektor kerajaan dan dalam sektor swasta. Kerana hari ini 1,100 sektor swasta, 1,200 sektor kerajaan. Sangat rendah sebenarnya. Apa yang kita nak beli? Kalau kita ambil kira kumpulan paling bawah B40 ini, anak mereka ramai. Kadang-kadang anak mereka ni antara 5 hingga 10 orang. Dan kalau anak ramai dengan pendapatan 1,200 sebulan, tidak tolak potongan-potongan wajib, caruman-caruman wajib, akhirnya TOP dia tinggal 400-500 sebulan. Apa dia nak buat?
The QPAC's president further noticed that as a result of this, couples who live apart have ended up in divorce due to the financial pressure after having to pay for house rent and commuting expenses. He said this to the media at the Terengganu Social Security Organisation SOCSO Hari Raya celebration in Kuala Terengganu yesterday. Defence Minister Muhammad Sabu says the salaries of the armed forces personnel will be reviewed to ensure it commensurates with the job they do, taking into consideration the socio-economic situation of the country. Commenting further on the matter, Muhammad Sabu said the matter should be taken into consideration by the government, like the salary increment proposed for low-ranking police personnel by Inspector General of Police Datuk Sri Abdul Hamid Bador in early June. Datuk Sri Abdul Hamid had earlier voiced the view that the salary, logistics and the need for low-ranking policemen should be given priority in efforts to enhance the integrity of the team. He said the salary earned, namely by those from the bank or sergeant and below, was low and unable to cover the cost of living, especially for those who served in big cities. About 40,000 fishermen have received the cost of living aid since early this year following the whitening process implemented by the Agriculture and Agro-Based Industry Ministry. Its Minister Datuk Salahuddin Ayub said the process, however, was still ongoing to identify the remaining fishermen eligible to receive the aid. Datuk Salahuddin said the ministry have almost completed the process and this year and they have given out the aid to the target group. He also said the whitening process on farmers and fishermen is carried out to ensure that the monetary aid reaches the target groups besides preventing leakage and misappropriation. The minister said this after launching the direct sale of marine resources from the landing place to the selected sales centre in Sungai Buloh, Selangor yesterday. At the event, Datuk Salahuddin said it was a pilot program through the new Centre of Economic Growth which enabled marine products to be supplied directly to consumers without the involvement of middlemen. He said about 50 such centres were targeted for opening across the country this year so that the people could have access to daily necessities at reasonable prices. Meanwhile, Datuk Salahuddin says the election of China's Deputy Agricultural Minister, Dr. Qu Dongyu, as Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations FAO is seen as a very apt and relevant move in Malaysia's bid to expand the cooperation in agricultural marketing with China. He also says during the FAO conference in Rome last week, he had voiced out Malaysia's aspiration on the matter and the hope that the powerful country would be able to help boosting the economy of smaller countries. Elaborating further, Datuk Salahuddin said China needs to play a more important role to help smaller countries like Malaysia to penetrate new markets for agricultural produce apart from the African countries and small islands which were depending on food supply.
Jadi pemilihan kita kepada China pada kali ini saya anggap tepat. Bukan kerana kita bersetuju dengan trade war, kita nak sokong China ni sebagai kuasa besar, tidak. Saya lebih melihat dan kerajaan melihat kepada opportunity market China yang luas. Musangking kita dah boleh masuk, denas kita dah boleh masuk, bird nest kita dah boleh masuk. InsyaAllah lepas pada ni jackfruit kita, nangka kita boleh masuk.
The minister said this after going on a walkabout and launching the mixed farming system at the Agro Mixed Farm in Segamat, Johor. It was reported that Q, a trained biologist, had become the first head of the agency from China to succeed Brazil's Jose Graziano da Silva as the new FAO Director General. He was elected on 23rd June during a biennial meeting of the FAO conference and his 4-year term will start on 1st August. In the foreign segment, Japan resumes commercial whaling today. 3 Russians and 1 Ukrainian have been identified as suspects for the shooting down of the passenger plane MH17. Investigators have issued the first arrest warrants against 4 alleged perpetrators. The criminal case against the 4 men for 298-fold murder should begin on 9th March 2020 in the Netherlands. The Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 flight number MH17 was shot down on 17 July 2014 over eastern Ukraine by a bug-type anti-aircraft missile. 298 people died, most were Dutch. The Netherlands, Malaysia, Ukraine, Australia and Belgium participate in the Joint Investigation Team, JIT. The four main suspects are the commander of the pro-Russian rebels, Igor Girkin, former Russian intelligence officer, Sergei Dubinsky, Oleg Pulatov, also a senior rebel officer, and Ukrainian Leonid Kazhenko, a commander of the rebels in Donetsk. Coming up in sports, Kedah to battle Perak for FA Cup crown. Kedah will play Perak in the final of the FA Cup on 27 July following its win against Felda United. The Northerners booked their berth in the final thanks to their away goals following their semi-final tie with Felda United ended with a 3-3 aggregate after they lost the second leg 3-2 at the Tun Abdul Razak Stadium in Jengka yesterday. Kedah had won the first leg at the Darul Aman Stadium 1-0 on 22nd June to put them on the driver's seat for the final. The Red Eagles got off a dream start thanks to goals from Fernando Rodriguez's spot kick in the 26th minute and Muhammad Farhan Roslan's strike in the 37th minute to end the first half comfortably before disaster struck in the second half. Felda stayed true to their nickname, the Fighters, as they bounced back in the second half with goals from Thiago Aquino's 65th minute, C. Chantru's 73rd minute and skipper Hadin Azman's late goal deep into added time. However, the fight back was not enough as Felda crashed out of the semi-finals as Kedah had 2 away goals in their hand after the final whistle. Meanwhile, the Perak Football Association, PAFA, will call for a special meeting on the sale of tickets for the 2019 FA Cup final. Its president, Ahmad Faisal Azumu, said the meeting is aimed at discussing the distribution of ticket sales in all districts in the state. Commenting further, Ahmad Faisal said it was possible that PAFA might use the same system as the ticket sale for the second leg of the FA Cup semi-final, which is through online sales and sales at the Perak Stadium.
Kita tidak boleh deny hak ataupun kemampuan satuan-satuan gabungan di seluruh negeri Perak di peringkat daerah-daerah. Tetapi apa yang kami akan lakukan ialah pembahagian tiket ke peringkat daerah ini akan dibuat oleh PAFA sendiri supaya bunyi-bunyi berkenaan dengan ketirisan dan sebagainya tidak kedengaran.
Perak confirmed its berth in the 2019 FA Cup final with a 4-3 aggregate win over Pahang last night. Meanwhile, more than 10,000 people attended the state-level celebration of the National Youth Day held for 3 days beginning last Friday. Various activities were held throughout the celebration, including the Youth Entrepreneur Carnival, a seminar on the preparation of halal certificates, a sports carnival for people with special abilities, Youth Premier Awards, a Battle of the Band, and a drum festival. And that concludes this afternoon's edition of News on 2. In our top story, government extends national home ownership campaign. Join us again at 7 this evening for more updates. I'm Renee Fong. Have a pleasant afternoon.